Right, watcher, welcome back. Number 11, Project Bash Plate. This is going to be something just a little bit different today. I've been doing lots of grinding and welding and fabrication and firing for a long time now, and it's getting a bit boring. Boring for me, and I would imagine boring for you. So what I'm going to do today is something completely different, as they say in Monty Python. And this is going to be a little bit enjoyable, a little bit experimental, and I think it will work. I've done it before. It's not a different process or difficult process. It's just something that you don't see very often these days. And what I'm going to do is this. Just grab hold of that. That joint round there, where this wire on the inside is welded to the outside sheet, there's a gap, pretty much here and there. There's these little gaps, and obviously that's not very good. I want a nice finish, and I could use filler. Just smear the filler in and then sand it down, and it would be nice. Now there's a problem with filler. Filler itself is a lot of resins and epoxy hardeners and plastic powder and so on, and it effectively makes this what you can only term is plastic. When you take filler and you set it, you activate it so it becomes a hard product, it is just plastic. And it sticks very well, so it stays on your car and your bodywork and so on. But there's a problem with it, and that is that it doesn't like vibration, it doesn't stick as well as you might think it does, and it's a different material. The metal itself expands and contracts at different rates to the filler, so therefore in the course of time it will crack, it will fall out, especially if it's not very well done, or if it's a large quantity. Now back in the day, many years ago, back when things like lead and so on were used in manufacturing of vehicles, that's what they used to do, is heat up some lead and press it into the joint and then file it back with a file and sand it, and you would get a perfectly metal joint. Now because metal expands more or less at the same rate as itself, so the lead might expand and contract a little bit quicker than the steel because it's a bit denser, but basically it's going to be about the same. It's virtually as conductive to heat as the other metal, the parent metal, whereas filler, it's not. You can stick a blow lamp against some Bondo filler, put your hand on the back, and it's not even warm. It doesn't conduct heat, therefore it doesn't expand and contract. It stretches, but not enough, and so therefore it's not as good as lead. The reason lead's banned is because the vegetarians and the tree huggers just don't like it because it's a little bit poisonous. Well, you just use some precautions, don't you? It's only poisonous when it's vaporized, so I'm going to use some common sense today with a fan and blow the fumes out the door when I'm working, and I'm going to try and lead that little tiny joint. And to do it, I'm going to use flux cord solder. Some of you guys have suggested this, 3 individual people have said this, so obviously it's common sense because it's you thinking like I think, and I like that. I wouldn't have bothered doing it really because I've got loads of filler up there, I can just crack on with it, but I've got some solder and I've got some time this afternoon, so I'm going to crack on. Now this may work, it may not. It's not difficult, I've done it before, and let's see. I'll show you what happens, I'll show you how you do it. It's ever so easy, and maybe if you like it, you do it yourself. That roll of solder in the car accessory shop was about £5. A soldering iron's about $2.99 in Argos or Amazon, and you can have a little play with it yourself. It's not difficult, but you get the flux cord solder, then you don't need to get preparing the metal with blow lamps and all that. You can just use that and it works. Anyway, enough waffle, I'll show you how it works. Right, here we go. Right, if you haven't done it before, simple enough. Get a fan in place just to blow the fumes away from you. Open the door. Right. Solder the soldering iron on the job. Just warm it up a bit. A few seconds. Soldering iron's hot. And then just lay the wire in the joint. Press it in. It is as simple as that. Give it a minute to conduct some heat through the job. The actual parent metal has to be hot, so just giving that a second. And then, done 1 inch, you put a second piece on top and sink that in, give it a bit of depth, and then you can file it round once you've got a proud amount in there. Come back to the end of your job and do the next bit. When you see any leading done, proper leading by proper people who know how to do it, it's not a pretty process, it's always ugly. It's always all spaded in like icing. Then you go back and form it and shape it with tools, files, rasps, sanders, all that sort of thing. Well, not a sander, but you certainly used to use I think the old leading tools were a specific tradesman's tools. I think the old sheet metal guys used to build cars back in the day, cars with big running boards. These were skills that they would be taught as apprentices. I learnt this from my dad. He used to do it on welded joints back before body filler was as reliable as it is today, and that's a shame in a way. It is got so reliable just to whack some body filler in it. And obviously that file's going to get, where are you? That's going to get all full of lead, but that's easy at the end. Just use a blow lamp and burn it out and we'll just melt it. Incidentally, that's a heater. It's not just a fan, that's hot coming out of there so that it doesn't cool the job off, cause problems with it setting. Oh, we're by the seaside. And that, I think, is that for that side. There we are. Right, let that cool right off and set. And then start filing it. Like I said, if you're going to do it, carefully does it at this stage. Because with all the big hocky blobby bits you can knock them out quite easily. So just go nice and gently, it's ever so soft, files back in seconds. I'm not looking for this to be the finished finish. I will use probably some sort of modern product, but I just wanted to try this leading process. See if I'm still any good at it. I've done it for about 20 years. Just a bit. Doesn't seem to. You can see why it's good for things like roof chops. If you're going to weld a roof on a car, a chop roof or a panel, this can hide all the nasty blobs of a weld. You get a long surf-form rasp and slide it along, you'll get a lovely flat panel, all metal as well. And here we are. Nice smooth edge. Got to look better than that. Right, here we go. Now we've got a nice rounded seam all the way up, top to bottom. There you go. Nice, perfect rounded edge. It's not perfect, what am I on about? There's little digs in it, little bits of lead missing. But if you try and put lead into that, you melt the lead that's in it out. So you just need to use a little bit of filler. I mean, the tiny pinholes that are in that, they'll fill up with paint. They're so small. So we're getting closer to making it all metal. There we go. Time for a clean up. Right, there we go. Nice round smoothie edges. Yummy. Lovely. Now all they'll need literally is like a finger of body filler just wiped in those little pinholes. You can't put lead in the pinholes. If you melt any more lead into that lead, you just melt that lead out, like I said, so you make a mess. So you kind of quit while you're ahead. But that's nice and smooth, nice and round. Everything's working nice, like that. Right. Here's another thing, this whole business of leading. Right, it's one of the old skills, one of the old sheet metal man skills. And yes, indeed, they used to use it to build cars in all over the world once upon a time. It's one of those things. And it's easy, isn't it, to say, you know, bring back the old skills and all that, but it ain't really an old skill. It's just common sense, isn't it? It takes a little bit of patience, and sometimes it goes wrong, but you just get it right in the end. My old man used to do leading. If he did a bit of welding on a panel, instead of body filler and all that, go down the road and expensive stuff, he'd get an old car battery and break it up. There was always loads of lumps of lead hanging around the shed. Just get a blow lamp and an old kitchen spatula, spoon it in, file it back. You used to use a surf form. Do you remember a surf form? Those kind of like a cheese grater file thing. You just file it flat with that, then you sand it flat, and then more and more sand until it's absolutely smooth. And then a little bit of primer, sand that down, paint it, didn't know it was there. And it would never fall out and it would never rust. It was a single repair, it always worked. Can't do these things anymore because it's lead and it's evil and all the rest of it. My granddad used to make lead fishing weights out of old car batteries. Simple as that. Break them up, take the lead out of them, obviously dispose of the acid carefully. But these things back then, batteries didn't last long, so you could utilise the lead. You're recycling, aren't you? Think about it. You don't have to chuck these things up the tip and then go to the fishing shop and buy a fishing weight. Just make them. Ever so simple. Anyway, there we go. Thanks for watching number 11. I hope you enjoyed that. Something a bit different. Take it easy. Ride safe, and we'll see you for the next one.